So you've just signed up for Garbanzo. Now what? Once you've created your account, created classrooms, invited and added your students, it's time to start creating assignments. But where to begin? Garbanzo has over 3,000 lessons for students learning Spanish and English, so the content library can feel overwhelming. Before you jump in and start searching for lessons to assign your students, it helps to identify why you're using Garbanzo in the first place. When you know the reasons you're using this tool, navigating the content library is easy. The first question to ask yourself is whether you want Garbanzo to directly support the content you're covering in class, or if you want it to be a way for students to build proficiency independent of what you're doing in class. If you want Garbanzo to connect to content from class, you'll be looking for single lessons in the content library to assign to students. If you're using the Somos curriculum, you can use the search filters to find lessons that pair with the unit you're currently teaching. You can create as few or as many assignments as you want. Set due dates that make sense for your time frame for teaching the unit. If you're using a different curriculum, whether a textbook or one that you've designed for your own program, you can use the search filters to find lessons by topic or by country. If you're teaching a unit related to food, use the topics filter to find food-related lessons. If you're teaching a unit about Panama, use the countries filter to find lessons about Panama. You can click into any lesson to preview it to see whether the text length and complexity of a particular lesson is a good fit for your students at their current level of proficiency. But maybe you subscribe to Garbanzo so that you could have a way for your students to build proficiency through reading independent of what you're teaching in class. That's a great way to use Garbanzo, and there's two primary ways to do this. First, you can use the Biblioteca feature. The Biblioteca is like a digital library that you fill with books for your students, except the books are online lessons, not paperbacks. Add lessons to the Biblioteca that you think your students would be interested in reading and that are an appropriate level for your students. Then your students can navigate to the Biblioteca from their dashboard and they can choose what they want to read, they can choose how they want to read it, and they can choose how many times they want to read it. Whether you're giving them reading time as homework, free choice reading time in class, or saving it for sub days and days when you just need to give your voice a break, the Biblioteca is a great way to give your students voice and choice as they build proficiency. The other way to use Garbanzo as a means to build proficiency independent of what you're doing in class is through the core paths. The core paths are sequenced and scaffolded so that your students will be able to understand the lessons as they read through them in order. If you have beginner students, start with the first core path in your target language, the core path with the lowest number. Use the path assignment feature to send the full path to your students as a single assignment, and the application will automatically feed them a series of assignments to complete in order. If you have intermediate or advanced students, preview the core path vocabulary lists and scan some of the lessons in the core paths with higher numbers to identify the path that you should start your students on. Core paths are a great way for you to ensure that your students are building proficiency regardless of what you're doing for direct instruction in class. Garbanzo has more than enough content to keep your students reading all year long. If you're ever unsure of what to assign next, reach out to hola@garbanzo.io. Our instructional support team is available to help you make the most of your students' time on Garbanzo.